Welcome everybody to episode 110 of Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast right here on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts from. Also, this is a podcast of enjoyment, of laughter, of life advice, and we're on that 7-star tip. You know, that's how we roll here. We're here to entertain you guys, give you something to think about, not just wrestling related, life related to, and we're just here to have some good time, you know. I want to give a shout out to Brother Carter, who came on last week's show. We had a blast last week, so I want to give a shout out to Derek, who won his final appearances on Wrestling Media as he moves on to some other important stuff with his music career. So I want to give a shout out for Brother Carter coming on and spending some time with us because we had a blast last week. So we'll give a shout out to him. You could follow us, like I said, on Apple Podcasts and YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's where you get all the episodes. Unfortunately, I don't have the money to drop every single episode on iTunes as I wish, because Podomac wants to charge you money for those type of fees. But we do have all the episodes of this particular podcast on my YouTube channel. Just type youtube.com, put Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast in the search engine, and you'll find everything you need to find. Today on the show,
we're going to get it thrown up on Google Podcasts here. I don't pay for that family subscription for nothing. So I utilize it. I use a lot for all my work podcasts and stuff like that. So I mean, it's eventually once we get everything square, it's going to be on Google Play, Google Play Music, Google Play Podcasts, and then we'll be able to have them all chronicled that way. So.
That's the Clown Prince, Adam Daley, the man. Follow him on Twitter and Instagram at AdamDaley13. I'm at Twitter and Instagram at NotoriousJoshi. Today on the podcast, we're going to talk about a big weekend for both of us. The Clown Prince is making the trek out to the city of Wynn. Yes. And then we'll talk about all the fun stuff going on for Money in the Bank weekend. We're going to play the game. You played yourself as always. We're going to talk about New Japan's Dominion show that happened this past weekend. I'm talking about my experience covering that show live this past Friday. And I want to share some thoughts about Lucha Underground Caesar premiere from last night. So we'll get into that as well. So if you have any questions for us, if you want to drop your predictions for the pay-per-views this Saturday and Sunday, please put it in the comment section below for this YouTube video or podcast, wherever you're finding this shit. And we know you guys are busy, but we appreciate your time listening to our nonsense. So what's going on, man? How's things going?
Hey, listen, we're back in a heat wave here in Pittsburgh, but I did just real quick before we get into anything else. Before we started taping, you mentioned that this weekend, and absolutely we're coming up there. Just to give everyone a heads up, there is our very own Riot Squad coming up to Chicago. So we're taking AJ to her first show. It's me. So me, Sam, Lady Nexus herself will be in attendance. We're actually taking my dad to a show. So I mean, it's going to be a rowdy crowd in AJ. So the four of us are going to be in section 211. From what I understand, we're going to be probably pretty visible on television when they show the higher spots. So look for us. I'm pretty ugly. I'm not. You won't notice me. My wife is gorgeous. You will notice her. So kind of look for us and make fun of us, make gifs out of us, make memes out of us. I really don't give a shit. But Josh, what I want to really talk about is that, you know, you mentioned before we started taping, getting back to the heat wave here in Pittsburgh, you said it's going to be in the mid to high 90s this weekend?
Yeah. This is not a drill. This is not a drill. This is not a gimmick. I'm not trying to pull a Rhodes over anybody. Literally, we're having upper 90s weather in the city of Chicago this weekend. 95 on Saturday and 97 on Sunday. Mamma mia.
So what you're saying is, like, my fear, and this is just as the daily curse goes, like you experience the karma in the most wicked of ways. Like, there's never a happy medium. It's either like extreme, like, hey, look at the luck you fell into, or the extreme other way of, hey, this is how bad life really sucks. So, and I kept thinking, like, you know, this trip seems too good to be true. Like, something's got to happen. I'm worried. Like, what's gonna? And it finally hit me. I'm going to die. Like, the heat is just going to kill me in Chicago. So this will probably be my last weekend. It's been nice knowing everybody. I hope I at least get through the show. And then we kind of, dude, that's hot. I'm not good with hot weather. And how's your humidity in Chicago? Bad.
Well, let's say it's just bad when it rains and it's this type of weather. So I pray to God there's no rain in the area, but I can't promise anything when it comes to weather in this city. I can't.
I'll say I didn't know how like the lake effect would affect the humidity or anything like that. When I was up there before, it was April, or whenever WrestleMania was. So.
Yeah, and it still had some slight of winter feel to Chicago.
It definitely was that winter springtime, even though it was WrestleMania season.
Yeah, that's how things roll here, man. Winter doesn't end till like the end of May, so it is what it is.
Pittsburgh can't figure it out either. We go straight from winter to summer, and then we throw in a couple spring days in June, just in case you forgot about what springtime was, and then we just go straight back into like 89, and the humidity feels like you're just eating butter. It's like so thick, it's just like butter coming at you. Like I'll stay inside, thank you.
I got to prepare some unreleased podcast with you since you're melting away this week.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
You got to go full Tupac in this shit.
I'm slowly. Next week, it's just going to be like one of those virtual holograms that's going to be taking my place. Probably be better conversation and more interesting anyway. So. Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we get into all the festivities that are going on this weekend, there were stuff going on outside the wrestling bubble. This past weekend, USC took over Chicago. They had USC 225 at the United Center, or the Madhouse on Madison, or whatever you want to call it, Chicago Stadium. And they had their first pay-per-view in Chicago since USC 90, I think, because they did one at the All-State Arena. I do remember they did one. It was like 2008-ish, something like that. Damn, time flies by, man. Jesus Christ. So, obviously, we would be remiss with having this podcast without talking about CM Punk's fight and some of the aftermath with that. Really quick, what my takeaway from that show and the whole thing with Punk's fight is, first off, Alistair Overeem got. I just want to throw that out.
Yeah, I was going to mention something about that too. Holy cow. Go ahead. I'll do my part after you.
Colby Covington, you could go the fuck home and stay the fuck home as far as I'm concerned. Yes, you won, but B, you're an asshole. I'm just throwing that out there. Then C, we're going to get into this. Whether the fight should have been on Fight Pass, whatever, prelims, whatever you want to call it, I just want to give props for Punk for going through 3 rounds with that. Mike Jackson could have finished the fight earlier if he wanted, like Dana White pointed out after the pay-per-view was over. Dana White's like, Mike Jackson's a fucking idiot. He's 0-2 in my eyes. But my thing is, I want to give props to Punk. He did the city proud. It's always cool to have that feel of the cult of personality blaring through a Chicago arena, and even hearing CM Punk chants during the rounds. I thought it was very cool. I'm not a big UFC guy. I never have. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I only watched the show because Punk was on it. Same thing happened when he fought Mickey Gall a couple years ago. I'm not that big in UFC. I didn't even watch Brock Lesnar's fight when he got popped for steroids with Mark Hunt, which we're heading into collision course with Brock Lesnar and John Jones. And guess what? The fight won't happen because they both will be popped with steroids. So what else is new? But last thing I want to say about CM Punk is, with all the shit he had to deal with a couple days before the fight and this how he conducted himself around the way, I just want to give a shout out to him because, people can say, oh, I'm just rooting and being a Punk guy because the wrestling character. No, this is more sentimental to me because he's from my city. I look up to him. He's my hometown role model. I talked about in the past about other celebrities that I looked up to from a music standpoint, but from a personal tip, CM Punk is my guy. So, he lost. Yeah, people are going on the soapbox saying that he should do this, do that. It's bullshit. The guy sat out and had a goal. He went out and did it on his own terms. whether he was successful or not. With CM Punk, it doesn't really have to be based on wins and losses, if you really think about it. with his life and the shit that's been put in front of him, even before he was a mainstream star with WWE, the guy's been dealing with L's and taking L's from which ends around the world. So, Punk, I'll give a shout out to you, kicked ass. That's my shout out for Punk.
So yeah, let's talk about UFC the other night. First, and I'm glad because I said something, to my dad. We went to my dad's for the fight the other night, and I said something to my dad during the Colby Covington promo, his post-fight promo. I said, look, they're trying to be WWE. WWE is, it is taken over. I said the entertainment. I said this is all WWE now.
Right.
Or professional wrestling. I don't want to say just WWE, but they're mimicking professional wrestling, and I'm glad. And I think people caught it because even like Trina, I noticed on everybody probably to listen to this knows who Trina is. She mentioned it. I saw she tweeted something about it the other night, and shout out to her just because that is something that I think a lot of us. That's the first thing we picked up on is like, okay, so we're going this route, which makes a lot more sense with the reason why Punk was there anyway, and that was just a money grab. Like I'm going to get to the fight in a minute, but dude, Overeem, his head looked like that volcano out in Hawaii, man. It was just like spouting, like pop. That was grotesque, man. The ref could have stopped that, I think, like 2 elbows earlier. They let that go a little too far. Dude, I thought all the prelim fights were pretty solid. Decent paper. I didn't get to catch the last fight because it was late. I had to drive home, that kind of stuff. And I heard the final fight I heard was awesome. But, dude, I'll say this. I think I mentioned this when we were talking about it. I didn't expect CM Punk to win this fight, and I didn't expect him to make it out of the first round. He's just, I'm going to take a lot of shit from this because, and I hope he never hears this because, same reasons, dude. I look up to the dude not because of the pro wrestler. I enjoy that he was a pro wrestler, but, I appreciate the human being, for a lot of what he stands for. We're going to talk about some other things in a minute that maybe I disagree with, but understand all sides. I don't know, whatever. But I just think that, listen, what he's been trying to do really hasn't been trying to, in a way, win these fights, yeah, but he's just been trying to just show people, like, how, in my opinion, how tough he is. He wanted to go the distance. He had no business going the distance in this fight. And I'm saying that, I'm not saying that to just be a CM Punk hater at all, but what I'm saying is that certain people, and this isn't, and it's weird how I'm intertangling these names and just, it's so weird, but I mentioned Josh also a couple weeks ago, like in a different aspect. I felt like the reason why I like Baron Corbin so much better now because they're playing off of him being a good smartass is because he's a better smartass than he is a tough guy. You know what I mean? Like he comes off like a lot better, a lot sharper. He comes off as more of a prick. You know what I mean? Which is what they want out of the Baron Corbin character. He's better at that. I don't think CM Punk has that. You have to have a killer instinct to be in MMA where you have to have a certain mentality. And the issue with Punk was like he wasn't even trying to punch through his opponent. So when you're not trying to punch through your opponent, you're just kind of making contact. I'm not trying to say I couldn't imagine like now starting to train for something in my late 30s, training with these people and going and however much talk is talked back and forth or whatever, I still wouldn't be able to go in there truly trying to hurt somebody. You know what I mean? I'm a little older, wiser. I just don't, my life isn't, I don't really concern myself with, I gotta, trust me, there's a short list of people there's a short list. But at the same time, I don't think Mike Jackson was on CM Punk's short list. You know what I mean? You have to, there's a whole hell of a lot of experience that comes with that. And over time, you learn that, listen, your opponent that's standing across from you is your opponent, but you are trying to hurt your opponent. And I'm not saying Punk wasn't maybe trying to hurt him, but he wasn't punching. If you're not punching through your opponent, you're never going to win an MMA fight anywhere, and not just UFC. I've said this from the beginning, was you can't hate the player, you have to hate the game. I never thought CM Punk should have went straight to UFC. I was never on record for saying that. I always was under the discussion of, well, listen, if Dana White wants to do the money grab, you can't blame a guy for taking that contract. Anybody that's hating on CM Punk would have done the exact same thing. He just wouldn't have lasted as long. You know what I mean? I mean, that's all there was to it. There was absolutely just a money grab. It was like Kimbo Slice. They brought in Kimbo Slice because he knocked dudes out in people's backyards. What does that really mean? You know what I mean? Like, when UFC gets in their downtimes, they bring attractions in. Just like when WWE or other professional wrestling outfits, they go through downtimes, they bring in attractions from outside, right? I feel like Punk got used more than what he realizes in this situation. He was nothing more than a money grab. He had no business ever. And I've always said that. I never thought he should have, went there. He had no place there. And this fight, I'm actually glad it went to 15 minutes because it showed unequivocally, without a shadow of a doubt, there should be no debate. He does not belong in a UFC octagon. I don't believe. I'd love to see him still do what he wants, but you also, I'm not. Being somebody who's married, and I understand life a little bit more when there's marriage. Marriage is all about compromise. And listen, there's a lot of things sometimes in life that you don't get to do because you want your spouse or significant other or partner or whatever to be happy. And if I'm AJ, I don't know if I'm advocating for another fight like this, because it was tough to watch. Yeah, I mean, it was just tough to watch, I think, I don't care who it would have been. I don't care if it's CM Punk or, it was tough watching Overeem getting beat on like that. It's, so I don't know what's going to, and I'm not trying to say, but just as somebody that's a fan of CM Punk, the human being, he doesn't have to me, ever prove, I never expected him to win a UFC fight anyway, but that's why I hope he never hears this, because he probably thinks I'm not a fan now because I'm not totally supporting him, even though I was. But I just don't think that that's his arena. And I don't even know if necessarily I need him back in wrestling either. I'm sure I'd pop, I'm sure, whatever, but I'd like to see, he's too charismatic at this point. And I know how it is when you get older, and I've had multiple concussions. Looking back at my life, I can start to count concussions. He's had a fractured skull, multiple concussions. At what point do you have to say, okay, enough's enough? Because Josh, we got to call this one like it is. He got his ass handed to him the other night. And Mike Jackson ain't a great fighter. And Mike Jackson is not good. Not good at all. Mike Jackson, I think there's some dudes that, Bobby Lashley, obviously there's a weight disparity, so you can't say that. I don't know who the hell you could fucking compare this dude to, but let's just say that, what's that?
A Jack Swagger?
Yeah, maybe. See, Swagger, though, has a wrestling background, though, too. He has that NCAA wrestling background, so that's still an advantage that he has over Punk. I don't think that, I do think that at least if what Punk wanted was the world to see how tough he was, because that I think in his mind, what was in question was his toughness. And I think that sometimes, though, trying to prove a point, you end up making yourself out. It's for selfish and stupid reasons. And I do think that this was more. I love the dude. Dude, you know how I feel. But I just think this was solidified. And I'm not saying, listen, we all should do what makes us happy, and if we can get paid for what makes us happy, you can't hate on that at all. But there also has to be some self-analysis and saying, okay, I can absolutely make money on this, but do I want to shave 10 more years off of my life? You know what I mean? And I know that sounds brash, but that we listen, what we're finding out about concussions and head injuries, and Punk has a history of that. I do. I think there's a lot of us from that generation. I'm exactly 1 year younger than CM Punk. 1 year and 1 day. And our generation did not have concussions taken care of like we should have. And so there's a lot of us that are walking around probably with our brains half scrambled a little bit. You know what I mean? That's probably why half our country's a bunch of lunatics. But I just think that this was. I'm glad it went 15 because there was no it was like 30 seconds, and dude, it was like, I hate to say this, but he was like the dude that talks a lot of shit at a party and is like a 2-pump chump at the end of the night, if you know what I'm saying. And I hope there's a lot of laughter. And listen, he's my boy. I'm not hating on him, because he did something that a lot of men will never do and couldn't do. And I think that's where a lot of the not necessarily the hate, but the detractors or the negative responses or whatever, a lot of it is envy. But I think with what we saw with Corey Graves, Josh, and I think this is something that me and you wanted to talk about, it isn't necessarily just envy with a lot of people. And there was much more to this situation than just CM Punk versus WWE. And if nothing else, I think this weekend, I hope, and this is where I'm going to pass it back over to you, Josh, I hope that, and I know I keep saying this because Corey Graves is my man. He's this dude. This is the dude. I always say that he is the real MVP right now of WWE. He's quietly becoming, I feel like, not only a leader on camera, but just as being as open, is clear and open with what's going on. That was some pretty heavy stuff to see, and coming from somebody that, again, you look at, I don't care how young, I don't know, I'm probably around the same age as Graves. He's younger than me, I'm sure. But I still look up to the dude, and I look up to his work, and I have a hell of a lot of respect for this dude, I talk about him every single week on this show and praise him every week on this show. So, when you have, now it kind of got a little more real in a sense that it wasn't just CM Punk versus company. Now we're seeing shit. The friendship level of certain people, that the divide that was caused. And like, I've been on both sides of that. I've had friends that were not allowed to speak to me because of who was on their paycheck or who was signing their paycheck, and them being threatened by their boss from companies that I've worked for before, and that kind of stuff. I've also, not Josh, you and I fell out for a little bit because it was a guilt by association. It was just total because of a show that you were on. And, a person that was on that show, and I just, hold issue with that person. And that was totally unfair on my part. So I have been on both sides of this coin with a lot of people, too. I'm not just, these are just two quick examples. So this got a little bit more real, and it got a little more like, okay, like, let's just fucking all drop it now. You know what I mean? Like, this whole, like, why we have to take sides in any of this is crazy. I planned on making a Corey Graves sign for the pay-per-view, because we're going to be the very first row of the balcony seats, the 211 seats that you can see from cameras. The camera's going to be facing. You're going to be able to see us. And I wanted to make a Graves sign where it said, like, the Graves Yard or just something cheesy, just because I wanted to show the dude some respect, fucking Pittsburgh boy. Like, I was, just really just hoping to, like, just show appreciation to the dude. And I don't want to do that now because I'm afraid the Chicago. What do I want a Chicago crowd to turn on me and my daughter on Father's Day? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want any of that hate coming back on me. And this is just a situation where it just sucks, because and not that we know anybody involved or anything. So I can only imagine how the people involved feel. So if anything, for me, it was a way to step back and look at the situation and think, like, damn. And that's why I said, like, there's wrongs on, and I've always said that there's been wrongs on both sides of this. I've never said that anybody was squeaky clean. But for me, this hit a little more home because it wasn't like Punk versus WWE. It was like, oh shit, like, this is this is deep friendships. This is more than, this is where as fans, maybe we need to just shut up and just kind of just move on. But I don't know, Josh, what did you take away from all of this?
One last thing I want to mention about the fight and stuff that night. It's just me. I'm kind of getting annoyed with seeing people say that he should do this and he should do that. Like, he should do what he wants to do. And like, for me, I'm not able to walk in other people's shoes or think about how they approach things or why they're doing this. I don't know. I don't know why you do the things you do. You don't know why I do things. Like, it's kind of easy on the surface to say, oh, this person's doing this for that reason and this and that. But
right.
Nobody's perfect, and nobody really knows what's going through people's minds.
Right.
So I want to mention that.
Yeah, guys. I want to make sure. Don't think that I was just insinuating, like, sometimes just because I'm a like-minded. I don't want to say a like-minded dude. I guess, and I see the world a lot of ways, a lot of times how CM Punk does. And honestly, I would have done that just to prove people wrong. It wouldn't have been about winning or losing. It would have been about showing people that I could go toe to toe and it would have been about, I can take the ass whooping you can't. Honestly, that's that. And I just sometimes think that, I don't know. And I just, but I do think, Josh, coming from somebody that's a married man, if Sam took up, let's say, wrestling, you know what I mean? Because she thought about it for a minute until somebody told her that she was going to have to do certain things or else she would never get anywhere in the business. That's what made her not go to wrestling school. But say she went to wrestling school. If she took a couple bad bumps and had a couple of bad concussions, I mean, we would have to have a discussion about what her career plans. And that's just that, and vice versa. Like if I was doing something where, and to be quite honest, I've had jobs where my wife has told me, you're not doing this anymore. And you have to hear both sides. And I'm not saying, I just know that if watching all the documentaries that they've had and kind of the interviews, you can tell AJ isn't comfortable really with Punk in these fights, and she's kind of just accepting it because, you know, it is his dream and she wants him to live his dream. But at what point does your dream become a danger? You know, and again, it's not, I'm not saying that Punk isn't improving, because he is improving, but he's still, it's a lot of time to make up at this age. You know, it's hard to learn anything at this age. It really is. Like, I always talk about how I feel like the world has passed me by, and I'm only 38 years old. So it's no way am I trying to slight CM Punk or try and say that he's being vindictive or try and say that he shouldn't do it or can't do it. I'm not saying, please nobody out there take any of that, you know. I'm thinking it from like that's one of the things Sam and I were talking about the other night. I was like, what do you think AJ is saying to him right now? You know, and it was just, you know, I know if that were, if let's, you know, everybody loves to play doppelganger with Sam and I and CM Punk and AJ Lee, even though they're a lot more successful than we will ever be. But I know if the roles were, you know, if that was me and she was AJ, I would be getting an ear beating of, you're never doing this again. Like, we have a family, you have, like, you know, but again, that's not any of my business. That's not any, you know, that's, and even with the Graves stuff, like, listen, the Graves and Punk stuff, that's none of our business either. And I want to say this, Josh, too, is I think that a lot of people, I understand why people are saying Graves maybe shouldn't have said that too, but I'm almost looking at it as Punk shot first. This was kind of like, you know, Punk never really had anybody shoot back at him. Kind of, but not really. You know, this was the first one that really had emotion behind it versus like a cheap shot. So I feel like it was just maybe it was overdue. Maybe it was overdue to hear that other side and say it. So, because a lot of people need to get brought back down from I don't care who the hell side you were on. This, you know, that needed to be heard. So I don't know. I just hate that I can't like support both of my like dudes at this pay-per-view on Sunday. So I'm not wearing either of them shirts, and I think I'm just making a big wavy section sign.
Big wavy for 205 Live.
I'm telling you.
On the great stuff, I agree with what you said. Like, when I first saw the tweets coming in about him talking about his story and then kind of responding back to people that automatically make assumptions and this and that, like, oh, you should be saying this. How can you be putting him down at a time like this? When I saw that, I immediately thought about the falling out that you had. Yep. Just like that. And like, you know, and on the surface, like, you look at these certain wrestlers and you may assume who's like certain friends with this person or that person, but there could also be other people that you don't know that they're really close to in the business. Like, even if like you have like a rivalry with somebody, like I say in wrestling circles, you may not know they may be like the best friends ever. Mm-hmm. They don't publicize it, but. And I look at the stuff with Graves, and I thought it was unfortunate. Like I felt bad for him, but I also looked from Punk's point of view, where you know, you're coming out of a business where people, whether it's right or wrong, they do have agendas. In a sad way, you do need to have an agenda to keep your name sacred for good light, and you had to take care of yourself. No, nobody's going to be looking out for you. I remember Punk saying that on the podcast. when they were setting up that Rumble match in Pittsburgh, he went up to Rusev and was like, "Oh, what you gonna do?" And Rusev's like, "I don't know. I'll just give you a bear hug or something." And Punk's like, "No, none of these motherfuckers are looking out for your best wishes. They want you to fail. You need to make a name for yourself." And even though Punk has those issues with the people in the business, he has that inside of him too. Like, I'm not trying to rip Punk in this case, but when you're in the business, you're going to adopt those traits.
Absolutely.
You cannot be a perfect human in that business. It's just how it is.
My biggest fear, to be honest, and this was just something that I was afraid of. I'm not saying don't start this as a rumor, anybody out there, this is whatever, but when over the past couple years, when this whole thing was shaken down, and even after with the podcast he did, and even like his last year in WWE when he was like Zombie Punk and he just looked like a shell of himself and whatever, I said to Sam, and this is just something that I know I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong. I'm not saying that he was. This is whatever. Because I was going through it. I said to Sam, like, I think the dude's sick. Like, I think the dude's on. I think back problems. I think maybe he was just misdiagnosed. He was put on a medication that, because listen, you can be straight edge and take medication from a doctor. And it just seemed very similar to, I was in a car accident, had back problems. They slipped me something and said it was for fibromyalgia and it would help my back, and it was an antidepressant. And, how, all over the place Punk was at certain times and stuff like that. Honestly, that's exactly how I was. And I kept saying to Sam, like, I felt like, what if, he got put on something and he was just having a bad reaction to it and just didn't know it and whatever. I mean, because I think about that with a lot of people, because I'm so anti that, that the pharmaceutical industry and whatever, and just, it didn't look like Punk. He didn't look well. He looked like he was half-assing it. It just, he was acting out of line a little bit, but, yeah. And I know they did bring up something in the court case, from what one of my buddies told me, something about like depression, Now they'll never release because they don't have to, and by law it always has to be, like under lock and key. They don't necessarily have to say if he was on, but even if you're just battling depression, you're not going to be yourself, and you're going to have that paranoid feeling, and you're going to have, but that's also something that you have to kind of catch, but you can't, it's hard to catch depression too. That's when and, in the end, I think ultimately, whether it's, I think that we should all, in a way, thank AJ Lee, because if it wasn't for her saying, just like I always thank my buddy Tom when he said to me, "Hey, you need to get off whatever you're on." If it wasn't for AJ finally saying, "You need to go see my doctor and get a second opinion," and nothing against WWE doctors, I'm not. This isn't to like do anything. But what I'm saying is that she kind of, whether we like the result of what happened or not, I mean, really helped Punk get back to health. Regardless of whatever happened with the court case, listen, there was wrong on both sides. That's why this case got laughed out of the courtroom. This looked like a circus. It played out like a circus, and this just got laughed, and they just basically got the get out of here. I don't know, man. I just think that there's a lot more to it now, like when it's like at such a human level that because go ahead, Josh, because I got one more thing I want to tie into. Okay.
Well, I can relate to a lot what Graves was saying on there, because in a big way, I did felt like I was being ostracized for something I wasn't responsible for. Mm-hmm. Like, I understood where you were coming from with that frustration you were coming out after the election stuff, and I knew what you were going through at that time, and I was like, yeah, I couldn't be there to like maybe help you feel better in person or talk about these things. Like there's only so much of a line of communication that we had with each other during that time period. Like, yeah, we talk a lot. Let's break it down to the fourth wall. There's a lot of times with me and Punks do talk in person or on the phone and this and that about life stuff and here and there. And I do consider you a brother, but even still, like, I wasn't there like when you were going through those issues, and like. I really felt bad about it, and it didn't make me resentful, but I was annoyed.
Well,
I was pissed off.
Yeah, and it's one of those. it's funny because like it's still the election angle that was played by that group is funny because I knew I was quitting his show when we did that charity event. I mean, there was one of the episodes that we taped. Yeah, I talked to you about that. There was something that we taped that night, and I remember like finishing that show, looking at Sam, saying, "I got to get off this kid's show. Like, this is ridiculous. I'm not doing this anymore." So, but when you have when stuff happens at home and you have family issues going on, and there's not only health, but your daughter's going through some changes, and there's your family is going to come first, and it got played out however, never anything interesting wanted to play it out, but that just shows you the shallowness of them, and that's why I saw the Graves side of things too, because I finally got to come in and like tell my story a little bit later on and say how wrong they were with certain things. But with all that aside though too, I think that I listen over the years too. Anybody that's followed me or Sam, I've always kind of knocked Corbin and it was so unjust, and it was because of just a miscommunication. Because of something that happened at WrestleMania 30. But here's what the funny part is, Josh, and there's the only reason why I'm bringing this up. Because I actually now, this is why I've been such a Corbin supporter, and this is really, I can't believe we're even going to talk about this, but I have a lot more respect for Corbin now than I have before too, because when I started timelining everything up, and since Graves put this thing out the other day, that issue that happened that I've talked about before with me and Corbin at WrestleMania 30. No wonder the dude held such issue with me dressed up as Punk. You know what I mean? Because if you're boys with Graves, and Graves is admittedly that was he's talked about it on documentaries that he wasn't in I think even in Sports Illustrated he was talking about it that he wasn't in the right state of mind WrestleMania 30 weekend, and if that's one of your best friends and you see a dude dressed up across a bar in cosplay is I'm not trying to validate anybody's behavior, but if you see your boy hurting as bad as he's hurting, you probably want to stick up for your boy, even if it's, misdirected hostility or whatever the case may be. And that's why I always laugh. I said, in a way, we were both, I said, me and Baron Corbin were actually arguing over our love of Corey Graves, of Sterling James Keenan. It's, in a way, it's humorous now looking back on it, but that gives me a little bit more respect for Corbin, though, too, because it's not, I'm not saying I'm not condoning the behavior, but it does tie into time frames of I don't know, man. It puts it at a more human level now versus man versus machine. It is this is kind of a holy shit. These are two human beings that I appreciate what they do in an art form. And outside of their art form, I respect their work. I respect their state of mind. I respect the way that they carry themselves. And it sucks to know that they were that close and now they're that far. And as a fan, it's just, but ultimately though, as fans, we have to understand that this really should affect us zero. It sucks. It sucks in a human manner because, it's, especially Graves is from Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? That's my boy. I'm always going to get Graves' back. It's a Pittsburgh dude. That's where loyalty comes in. And I know what Graves means by loyalty, because in Pittsburgh we're overly loyal in Pittsburgh. And so I get, but I also understand. I've been on the other side too, of where you can't trust the fish that you're swimming with, because you don't know if they're piranhas. So the world is just fucked, and I hope at least them two can come together and at least mend some fences, even if nobody else does, But it does sound like some shitty things if there was that ultimatum floating around that it's either that company or me or shit like that. That's dirty.
Yeah.
But again, this is all hearsay. It's all I'm saying. I am a fan of both of these men. That's where I keep it.
Me too. Let's move on here. Let's play a game of You Play Yourself before we get into the week of wrestling that we got ahead of us in a couple of days. I just want to start off with this. The people that were sending me messages about me putting over Robert De Niro the other night for saying "fuck you, Trump" on the Tony Awards. I'm saying you're playing yourself because your defenses for Trump don't bother me. It has no effect on me whatsoever. And by the way, I just want to throw this out there. I'm not Republican. I'm not Democrat. I'm neither of that for those who are wondering, I'm independent. I believe in my own way of thinking, not a certain set of what's be told. Oh, you should be this. You should be that. You should follow these guidelines. You should follow this guideline. No, I look at people for what they are, and I go with that. That's how I look at this. And this is not me trying to rip Trump to get clicks. I don't need to do that. Like, you have people defending Trump to get clicks, and especially people who do video shows. But that's neither here or there. I'm keeping it 100. So, again, for those reaching out to me saying, oh, you should be saying fuck you Trump on social media. First off, when I put stuff on my Twitter, it's my Twitter. If I wanted to make a professional account, I would have done that. And I'm not even on social media as much as I was back then. And the only reason why I'm still on the motherfucker is to promote my work. That's it. And I don't need people to tell me how to make my decisions through social media. Maybe I'll crack a joke here or there. Maybe I'll post a link to a song that I like or something like that. But for me, I don't need social media, and I don't need your fucking bullshit. I'm glad that Robert De Niro had the balls to say that on live television, whether you agree with it or not. That's just how I feel. So I don't know why you're going after me for it.
Well, first off, here's the first thing. It's I guarantee you it was only white dudes that were going after you. That's probably number one, and then the other half of them were all bots, so that probably doesn't matter. But at the same time, here's where the hypocrisy comes in, and we're just going to let it go because we're all hypocrites and we all do it. So it is what it is. It's just real funny when the shoe's on the foot that it is, and watching these people like just cower and like whatever, like all the like how Bill Clinton should have been burned at the stake. And listen, I don't like Bill Clinton at all. I think he's a piece of shit. I really do. I don't like Bill Clinton at all. I think he's a fucking slime ball. But now when our president is who he is, they're cut from the same cloth. Don't defend one. I mean, they're both slime balls. But my thing is that like you have to be really, really, really full of yourself to think that the president of the United States isn't going to be subject to criticism. He works for the public. It's our job to criticize him. I've criticized every single president. The funny part is that, and I'm going to use my uncle as an example. I have an uncle that for 8 years used some very derogatory racial slurs on our president. But as soon as Donald Trump gets elected, if somebody makes a joke, and it was Robert De Niro, how dare he talk about our president like that? So let me get this straight. So for 8 years, it's racial slur after racial slur after racial slur, and that's okay. But how dare somebody say fuck Trump? Because they've known this slime ball since before he was ever put into place by Russian bots. So, I think to start, you played yourself. It's just everybody needs to just like take a step back and realize that you're still being played. You're still being played. You're still being played by international espionage. It's the most beautiful thing when you know the whys and the hows, and you really catch on to the traits of a bot, and you really you start to catch bots in the act. There is like somewhat of a like little bit of like a pleasing feeling to it, because you realize that half the people out there that people are retweeting are bots, when they're like, yeah, look, they agree with me, because you're retweeting a bot. Yeah. So it's an interesting time, but it's like I said, I'm a very big proponent of free speech, so I think people should be allowed to say whatever they want, because it allows me to filter ignorance out of my life. I have Trump blocked on Twitter, so I don't know. I don't ever. If it wasn't for everybody else in the fucking news and fucking everybody talking about his tweets, I wouldn't know anything that was going on with the dude. So,
right.
Just like the Punk fight, I forgot about the Punk fight until really it was all people bashing Punk. Like, it was like 2 weeks before, and it was like, holy shit, that fight is 2 weeks away. And so we went and ordered it and watched it. So thanks, haters, because UFC wouldn't have got my money if we would have had the plan at last minute.
Right. You have anything?
I don't know. Hold on 1 second. Let me dig something up here. Let me see. Go ahead with your second one if you got something lined up.
Um, this is not really you played yourself, but I do want to give a shout out to my friend Sam Pielpo from Broadcast School, Second City Sam. It's his birthday today, so I want to give a shout out to him. In the meantime, he's a weekly listener to the podcast as well, so I want to give a shout out to him. And my second, you played yourself this week. It's just Cub fans in general. For over a century, you guys have whined and moaned and bitch about how horrible your baseball team is. And now that you've been to 3 consecutive NLCSs, you won a World Series, you guys are reacting to baseball games like they're football games, where it's life or death, where you're analyzing the potential of their playoff opportunities in fucking June. There's 162 games. The Cubs are leading the MLB in run differential and just overall hitting right now. And their pitching staff has actually been doing pretty good right now. And they're a game and a half out of the division right now in June. But we're having these psychoanalysis on Sports Talk Radio about, oh, is Joe Madden on the hot seat? Are you fucking kidding me? The guy brought you to 3 NLCSs in a row. And you're talking about, him being in freaking in hot seat. It's freaking ridiculous. So, Cubs fans, from me to you, you played yourself. So, I don't know how you can analyze baseball games like it's the NFL. The NFL has 16 games. It's freaking ridiculous. Oh my god, man.
Sorry about that. I had to mute that because my dog was going crazy there for a second. That's why I wasn't chiming in. Dude, it just amazes me that people still watch baseball. And I don't mean to be a dick about that, but I played for 20 some years. I don't even in hindsight, I don't even think I liked it. There's so much that if there's one thing I would have changed about my life, I don't think I ever would have played baseball. And I just was good at it and was just like, fuck it. I liked being good at something. I don't know. But in hindsight, I don't even really think I enjoyed, I don't know. I can't sit down and even watch an inning or two of baseball anymore, man. It bores me. Like how anybody can, I don't know, complain about WWE programming, but sit there and watch fucking baseball. Aren't they right now? Aren't they on record? And this is just, here's something else I just want to talk about. For everybody that wants to jump on the we hate the NFL bandwagon now, just because of Donald Trump, everybody always wants to talk about how, you're just a snowflake and you just want to be anti whatever Trump is. Do you know how many people are just you know how many people are anti the NFL specifically because of Donald Trump? Not because 10 years ago they started taking money from the military and the military doesn't get a penny back off of them anytime they sell any kind of merchandise with the military logo on it. Nobody gets mad about that. Nobody gets mad at this whole fucking kneeling fiasco. You know what I mean? So, here's my point. The NFL had a long history of, where it was going downhill. Don't act like it was just these past couple months or these past couple years. Now, on the flip side of things, Major League Baseball, a latest stat that I heard was that attendance is at an all-time low. Or not an all-time low, but a 10, 15, 20-year low, something like that. They're averaging, I think, 30,000 people per stadium. I think they are. There's something with there's the fewest number of runs scored or something like that. They're on record to have 5 teams with 100 losses this year or something crazy like that. Viewership ratings are at the lowest it's been in whatever. Well, I think it's because all the players are kneeling. It's all those players that are just those ungrateful baseball players that, how come there's no excuse for baseball? Is it because it's the whitest sport out there? Why aren't more people talking about how this? I'm serious, just out of curiosity.
It's wild, man. Whatever, man. So my last thing for you played yourself this week is LeBron James. I don't want to hear a thing about you dealing with a broken hand. Nobody told you to punch a blackboard after a basketball game where the game was tied in overtime and you still had the opportunity to win the game in overtime, and then you decide to be like, oh, having boo-boo face, and be like, oh, do we have no timeouts? You're the best player in the world, and you don't even know if you have timeouts left. The self-proclaimed best player in the world. He's shrugging his shoulders. He's not pumping the guys up. The game wasn't over. You're still in overtime. And then instead of stepping up and being the leader of the team, you pat on your shoulders and don't say anything. Oh, let's go on the thing. And then you lose by 10 points, and you decide to punch a wall. You don't have the cast on. You don't have any hand braces during the next 3 games, but you decide to show it up with a cast on after you got swept. I don't want to hear that shit. That's fucking ridiculous. Oh, let's play the sympathy card because LeBron James got to control the narrative anytime he looks bad in public. It's so fucking stupid, man. Nobody told you to punch a fucking blackboard.
I'm so out of the basketball loop, and I in a way, I feel like I should get back into basketball, but I just don't. Again, man, 168 hours. I don't got time for anything really in my life anymore. I don't. Like, people were like, "Hey, man, did you see this?" Like, nope. I'm sorry. I don't. I just don't have time. I think that's why I don't have time to like go online and bicker about shit that's so trivial. You know what I mean, or like whatever. But I really do. I feel for people that have that much time that they have to go on, and like I love that there was I just getting on Twitter because that's part of my job is I have to run some social media sites, and I always start with my page and go over to other ones, and it's just like just a quick like thing on my timeline comes up, and it's just all this like MJ versus LeBron, MJ versus LeBron, MJ versus LeBron. Dude, I'm so tired of that argument. I am so tired. I don't care. I don't even know if there is a comparison. I don't care if one is better than the other. I don't know why. I don't know. I know where you probably sit as far as the argument goes. I know where other people probably sit. I don't really give a shit. I just think it's comical that we're watching a guy. I don't know. I know Jordan won his championships, but Jordan had a better cast though too. So I don't know, man. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But yet we hate the NBA because 4 straight years of the Cavs versus Golden State sucks, but yet we still want to talk about LeBron being the greatest player of all time. So you think if we were watching the greatest player of all time, this would be an era that we'd really want to really just watch and enjoy and appreciate, but yet the NBA sucks so bad because it's always the same teams. Do you see how people talk out of both sides of their ass all the time?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess that's why it's just common. People's lack of substance in an argument or discussion is comical.
Let's get into I'm going to talk about last night. Started off episode 1 for season 4 of Lucha Underground. Waited about almost a year and a half for Lucha Underground to return, and I'm so glad it's back. I've always pumped up Lucha Underground in the past. It's my alternative to wrestling. Everybody has their different options from Progress or Lucha Man, and that's totally fine. For me, it's Lucha Underground. I love the show since the beginning. I've got a chance to talk to some of the writers and executive producers in the show when I was doing my old radio show back in the day. And I enjoyed the product for what it is. And Lucha Underground had their debut last night, and they started off with one of their biggest matches that they ever put together, Aztec Warfare. Basically, what Aztec Warfare is all hell breaking. So, in a way, it's kind of a gauntlet match, but you also have weapons in there. And I just like how they intertwine like the rivalries with different entrants and how they structure the Aztec Warfare show. And it goes through the entire show. It was 45 minutes. It was a long match. You had Tommy Dreamer in there, which kind of caught me by surprise. Jesse Goddard from TNA was on the show. They call him Mr. Spectacular now on Lucha Underground. And it's just cool. I love Lucha Underground for what it is. And kind of funny story. I know I'm breaking kayfabe here and there, but the last season, Dario Cueto, the promoter, he died. But now his dad, Antonio Cueto, showed up, and it's basically the same guy. playing Antonio. So.
Wait, rewind this. Hold on, rewind this real quick. Wait, I've been missing Lucha Underground, and now I can tell I've absolutely been missing Lucha Underground. Go over that one more again.
Yeah, so at Ultimate Lucha Tres, Dario Cueto, the owner of Lucha Underground, got stabbed. He got killed. He got killed in his office. That was the closing scene of season 3. And then they start off the show with the funeral for Dario Cueto, right? And then his dad comes up with a stick and stuff. But it's basically the same guy who played Dario Cueto, but he's playing an older character now. And then his dad is named Antonio Cueto. And guess what? This is even more funny. He interrupts a 10-bell slew for his son. He knocks down a poster of his son in the ring like a true heel. and he's like, "This is my promotion now." It's tremendous.
So he's the Jeremiah Valeska of Lucha Underground.
So props to Lucha Underground School. Pentagon Jr., very, very talented wrestler. I know he gets a lot of buzz on the indies, but he doesn't get enough mainstream buzz. The guy is very good for what he does. And then next week, it's going to be Pentagon Jr. defending his title against Matanza Cueto, who's like the big monster guy. He's like the biggest bad guy in the show. He's going to fight for the title next week, so that's going to be a sick match. By the way, Jeff Cobb is Matanza Cueto, for those who don't know. Jeff Cobb, another very talented wrestler from the independent scene. So if you haven't seen Lucha Underground, go check out. Fun show. If you ever seen like a Graves Consequence match or Aztec Warfare, you know all hell breaks loose. So go check out Lucha Underground. And also, outside of WWE, I wanted to mention before we get to our picks and stuff for the weekend, we had New Japan's Dominion this past Saturday morning, actually. Friday was weird. Friday was a blur for me. You know, I had to work. I literally knocked out when I got home for like 4 hours, and I woke up just decided to see the final closing seconds of the NBA Finals. Saw that championship ceremony. I did my article for this past week's Impact show, and then I was prepping up for the New Japan show. So New Japan's second biggest show of the year is called Dominion. They do it. This is basically their SummerSlam. And by the way, folks, I would hope that New Japan's second biggest show of the year is better than a random episode of Raw in June. Get a fucking clue. All right, I'm just gonna get that out of the way first. But going back to
sort of.
Like, I don't know what you basing that on. It's like saying, "Oh yeah, Bound for Glory was so much better than SmackDown." No fucking shit. I would hope so. Unless you're fucking putting Spring Stampede 2000 or some horrible WCW pay-per-view from the early 2000s. Mamma mia. This
isn't Taboo Tuesday.
Yeah, and it's not December to Dismember either. Talk about blast from the past.
That was bad.
Yeah, really bad. All right. So, Dominion, very, very cool show. They had it from the Osaka Joe Hall in Osaka, Japan. There was 6 title matches on the show. One of my favorite parts of the show was actually a random tag team match. They had Suzuki and Ishii just beating the ever-loving shit out of each other. I actually posted some clips of their brawl on my Instagram page, so you guys can go check out. I have 2 different videos from that match. Dude, man, I know people love like the Bucks and the Bullet Club and that, like, but my guys from New Japan are Ishii and Suzuki. I just like those type of wrestlers that just don't give a fuck and they just start smacking the shit out of each other and just dishing out arms and stuff. It's just tremendous. So, if you like good old fashioned brawls Japan style, go check out Ishii and Suzuki, that tag team match they had from Dominion. And then other matches in the show that I thought was really cool. Ospreay and Takahashi was sick. There was a lot of title changes on this show. Chris Jericho the Ayatollah of Rock and Rolla and mascara and all types of glitter, and this dude is a trip, man. But Chris Jericho is the brand new IWGP Intercontinental Champion. He defeated Tetsuya Naito in a very good match. The Bucks are now heavyweight tag team champions, which is kind of funny fun about their gimmicks. They defeated the LIJ group who were holding the titles previously. Other stuff on the show. It was cool to see Rey Mysterio. He was in a 6-man tag team match against Cody, Hangman Page, and Marty Scurll, so that was pretty cool. He teamed up with Tanahashi and Liger, so that was kind of a nice pairing they had with each other. And then, of course, the match everybody else is talking about is Okada and Omega 4. The first Okada Omega match I actually transcribed was I think Wrestle Kingdom 11. No. Yeah, it was 11 because they did 11. Then they did the G1. Yeah, so it was last year's Wrestle Kingdom show. And I like both guys. Why wouldn't you like both guys? I had 11 paragraphs out of that 2 out of 3 falls match. So this is a little behind the scenes of what I do from a transcription standpoint. Basically, anytime I separate a match with paragraphs, I'm showing basically the different parts of the match, the different stories of the match. So anytime somebody makes a big spot on the outside, and they're just like laying down there for like a minute and a half or whatever.
Little rest stops.
Yeah, like those little rest stops. That's where I'll make like a next paragraph. I go into the next part of the match. So they went 2 out of 3 falls. The first fall went 30 minutes, and then the match ended up being 66 minutes in total. So an hour and 6-minute match. Is your new IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. For me, I'm not a prisoner of the moment. I don't like doing that type of stuff and just dish out hot takes saying this is the greatest thing ever and that's it, end of discussion. I don't roll like that. I've transcribed every match they've had so far for Okada Omega, and I'll give props to them for this rivalry. Unlike Stone Cold and The Rock, each match of theirs were different in their own way. And I really appreciate what these guys do from a storytelling standpoint. And it was in full display during that match. I thought it was very cool. And everything they laid out in the story was awesome. It was good. Is it the greatest match I've ever seen of all time? I can't say that right now, a week after. I don't know. We're still in a world where Austin and Bret Hart happened at WrestleMania 13. For me personally, my first little favorite match I saw in person was Punk and Cena. So, like, I didn't have that feeling watching it Saturday of Okada and Omega like I did with Punk and Cena. But that's it for me. I'm not taking anything away from what those guys did. I want to make that perfectly clear. But the discussion is this the greatest match ever? For me personally, that's not for me to say. I like to wait and give it
subjective though. Like in what manner? You know what I mean? Like I feel like that's such an open-ended question because you can answer it so many different ways. It's just such a talking point for people to get on their soapbox about instead of just appreciating what was.
Right, exactly. And they told a good story. And, you know, putting a match like that, 2 out of 3 falls, and they went over an hour, it's not easy. It's not easy.
No.
And they did a fantastic job. So if you guys haven't seen New Japan Dominion, give it a shot. It's very cool. New Japan's doing a lot of good business, especially for their product. They got the G1 special coming up in 3 weeks from the Cow Palace in San Francisco. So that's really cool. Their special is going to be on Access TV. So you guys can check that out. New Japan G1 special. And then for those wondering, from my coverage standpoint, I will be covering this year's G1 tournament. So just to let you guys know what's going on with the website and stuff. So I don't regret covering the pay-per-view to 7 o'clock in the morning, my time in Chicago. It was fun. It was fun. You know, I appreciate getting to cover these type of other promotions because I learned something new from different styles and it helps me become a better writer in that way. So I want to give props to Lucha Underground and props to New Japan. it's a great time to be a wrestling fan right now. There's just a lot of good content from a lot of different companies around the world right now.
Yeah, even my dad even mentioned something about, he was like, I seen some Japanese promotion the other day going crazy on like on one of the cable channels I get. And I'm like, yeah, that's New Japan Pro, Dad. And it's like, you have to understand, like, my father's 59 years old. He's in that generation that doesn't, like, he tries to be politically correct, but it just doesn't happen. You know, like, he's a very open-minded dude, and he's very, like, but it just, he comes from a generation where words just came out. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's what I do. I feel like a lot of times there's a lot of misunderstandings just because generationally, like I said, like, there's going to come a time where, you know, my daughter's generation is going to hate that I still have midget in my vernacular, but they're also going to hate that I've compromised in my vernacular. So, looks like I make everybody mad when I talk. But no, listen, New Japan's doing some really, really good stuff. I mean, there's a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of good wrestling everywhere right now. What kills me, Josh, is, and I hate to tie this in kind of with what Graves said, but, and even like Graves' brother kind of had, you know, put a tweet out there, and in a way, whether you were for CM Punk or anti-CM Punk, I didn't even see a lot of these results from the New Japan Pro Show until like later on Sunday, because my timeline, and again, because I'm not on Twitter like everybody else is. I jump on and I try to like filter through or whatever, and it was just all either Punk love or Punk hate or Punk love or Punk hate or Punk love or Punk hate, and it's like, okay, you guys we all want to talk about something, although nobody claims to care about UFC and nobody claims to care about CM Punk, and there's all this awesome wrestling going on, and we all claim to be wrestling fans, and you know what I mean? And I hate to say that's where I get my news from, but like I you know, you just jump on real quick to see what people are just like talking about, you know, and seeing what basically everybody's arguing about today and what discussion you're going to have to dodge when you go out in public, you know? I mean, I hate to say that, but that's how I live my life now. I was like, all right, people are being dicks about this today. I know to stay out of this conversation. Like that's all it is. But I mean, that's the shame of it, is this show was that good. And I'm with you, Josh. I never like to say a show is the best of all time, or this was the greatest of all time, or this was the only thing I'll ever say was the greatest of all time was Bobby Heenan. But that's preferential to my childhood. And again, that's one of those where it's much, you know, it's one of those deals. And I think that everybody's favorite this or everybody's best this is because of the moment in time was just perfect for you. You know what I mean? Like everybody, whether it's their favorite band, when you latched on to your favorite band or your favorite concert or your favorite, whatever it is, favorite show, it was that moment in time. Because I've actually gone back on matches or shows or concerts that I've been to and thought like, man, this wasn't as good as I thought that it was. Or, man, this was so much better than I originally gave it credit for, you know? So, like, I think a lot of times we are slaves to that initial reaction, that our initial emotion, rather than, like, thinking, okay, how did it stand the test of time? Did it run its course, or did it get better like a fine cheese or a fine wine? I prefer cheese over wine, so that's...
I think for me it's just a hard conversation to apply substance to, because for me personally, I've transcribed so many matches from different promotions over the past 5 years. Like, I'm kind of numb to what wrestling is. I'm loving what's going on in wrestling. You guys hear my passion. I love wrestling. It's just for me, like, I want to learn something new when I'm watching the show. I'm not looking for, oh, this is the greatest thing, or this sucks and that sucks. I just want to learn something new from what show I'm watching. So it's kind of different for me. Is Okada Omega 4 match I would like to watch again down the road? Sure. But for me, like, I get more of an enjoyment of like trying to figure out how they structured these matches. That's stuff that I look into from a writing standpoint, because I do want to be a commentator. I do, like, I get envy for stuff like what Kevin Kelly does or what Mauro Ronaldo stuff, and I just take those opportunities to learn from those guys. So that's just my thoughts on Dominion outside wrestling stuff. I just wanted to get that out of the way, because I thought it would be bad on my part to not bring those up on the show today.
And listen, and from the fan standpoint, it is absolutely cool to see the Bucks take home the heavyweight gold. Jericho take home the IC strap over there, for the IWGP title. Omega finally get the IWGP championship. There's a lot that came out of this show that it's for a wrestling fan that still watches from afar, even if I don't get to watch every show or event or anything like that. These are. History was being made over and over and over that night, and. Again, it sucks that we're too busy, everybody wants to still complain about a fight they claim to not care about over like all this awesome stuff with individuals that we love so much, I guess that's the sad place in human evolution where we're at right now. But I think, Josh, how much of this do you think, and I don't know, I'm looking big picture and I'm looking money and I just want to toss a money question out there. How much of this do you think, maybe not necessarily the Jericho aspect of it, but, and who knows by All In, but how much of this was done for All In so that maybe they can have some things set up for the All In pay-per-view or the All In event, or, do you think maybe some titles could be defended there? Some IWGP titles could be defended there, or do you think that's something that New Japan is going to keep in their house? Is it, how could this play into something in the future? Because that's where I think is like, wow, okay, how, and I don't get disappointed if I don't have it one way or the other. I just start to think, okay, where could they go with this? And that's the fun of it for me, is the chase of, let's see if I can guess where they go.
I think for me, it's going to be pertaining to what happens at this Cow Palace show, because that's their next big special. But for what happened this past Saturday, I'd probably say 25%. Okay. It curtailed to what happens on All In. There's a lot of factors that are going on. There's a lot of wrestling specials that are coming up soon. You got Ring of Honor's having their Best of the World pay-per-view at the end of the month. Yeah. I mentioned the G1 special. I don't know if ROH will do another special along the way, but I think for right now, it'll be 25%. Having this cross-pollination with All In and New Japan, like we had Rey Mysterio on Dominion. Rey Mysterio will be at All In too, so that's a factor that goes into these shows too. So I say a quarter right now, but it could. There's a possibility that will increase by the time All In comes in September. Okay. It'll be cool.
I keep thinking, because September feels like it's so far away, but it's really September 1st. And that's really only 2.5 months away. Everything is 2018 is the year of I think everybody hit the reset button on their lives. You know what I mean? Including, and I don't know if you're ready to transition, but I'm going to transition real quick over to this, including Baron Corbin rocking a new look. Finally, listen, props to Corbin, because the reason why I shaved my head down in New Orleans was to donate it to Locks of Love and stuff like that. So to know that he did it for that, I thought it was funny how he made a comment about, well, it gives the internet marks, one less thing to knock him about. It just looks meaner, man. I like this slow repackaging they're doing with him right now. I don't know. I don't want to sound like whatever with Corbin right now, but I think I'm excited that they finally found something for him where, not that I can get behind it. I feel like maybe this is where it clicks for, not necessarily for him, but where it clicks with the fans, where everything kind of comes together. Dude, I think this is where it actually comes together for Corbin. I really do. And I'm, for somebody that, his whatever, and I really am happy to see where Corbin's at right now.
Right. And let's say you have a screwy finish in a match on the pay-per-view or something, you won't have the deadpan Kurt Angle look. You'll have Corbin be like, hey, what's going on here? You could either restart the match or save it for Extreme Rules the next month. I think that's the cool part about the role he's playing. I dig the cut, obviously. Corbin is doing good stuff. I'm very happy for him. I was joking around with this with my dad the other day. It's he's getting to go into that point of where Kane was in the Authority with the director of operations stuff. So it's something different for him, and I think he's doing a good job so far. I think it can only go up from here. I just wonder on Sunday if there'll be a thing where him, Angle, and Page are sitting ringside during the Money in the Bank ladder matches. Sometimes it's not Raw versus SmackDown, and you had Kurt and Stephanie at ringside, something like that. I don't know, but
I if I were a betting man, it seems to be, and hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm proven wrong this Sunday. I don't know if you noticed, a lot of Paige's segments have been backstage. Like when they do bring her out and she cuts something in the middle of the ring, it's typically with the women's division. With New Day being in the ladder match, I can't see her being ringside. I'm not trying to dig up. Yeah, I don't care. But it just seems like they've been very cognizant to make sure they're not in the ring at the same time. That's all. I just think that's an observation. Maybe it's, maybe just the situation didn't call for it. But at the same time, they did make Miz walk all the way just to the back just for Paige to tell him, hey, you got to go back out there. Instead of her coming out to her music like general managers normally do. And kind of, I don't know. I just think maybe, they'll be kept separate.
Let me mention this really quick. We got TakeOver coming up on Saturday. I originally I was going to go to the show, but I decided to not go. This has nothing to do with NXT. It's kind of funny. Triple H he had his press conference he does with the wrestling media before these TakeOver specials. So he did one yesterday, and he's like, "Oh, anybody in Chicago that's going to go to the event, I'll have a post-conference thing backstage arena." Like, oh, that's cool, bastard.
Hey, man, you can still go.
No, it's all good. But I want to mention NXT first because I know everybody's like, oh, money in the bank. Money in the bank is not going to top TakeOver.
Money in the Bank's going to blow people away this year.
Good luck, Money in the Bank. Dude, the tweets are already saved before they're published, bro.
I like that you already got it set up.
Oh, man. But, dude, I just want to run over the matches like I mentioned last week. Aleister Black and Lars Sullivan for the NXT title. Shayna Baszler, Ember Moon. No, not. What am I talking about? That was the last takeover. Shayna Baszler and Nikki Cross. Yes, let's give a shout out to her. Nikki Cross is the beast. Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch against the Undisputed Era for the NXT Tag Team titles. I'm kind of bummed out that Adam Cole's not defending his title at the show, which is kind of weird. But NXT is actually going to the UK on Monday to do tapings at the Royal Albert Hall in London. So that's going to be pretty cool. And you got Velveteen Dream and Ricochet. And, of course, the good old-fashioned Chicago street fight. Demolition and no, it wasn't Demolition. It was Road Warriors against Nation of Domination. I remember that. They had that WrestleMania 13. I think that's what it was. Yep.
Good somewhere around there, yeah. Somewhere around there.
Ahmed Johnson. Good Lord.
Jesus, Ahmed. That's a name drop from the blast from the past.
Yeah.
The Pearl River Plunge.
Oh, God. Well, good thing we don't have to worry about this because Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano will help you erase any memories of Ahmed Johnson. So, for those who are going to take over this Saturday, I hope you guys have fun, but we got other business to tend to, my man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we got stuff to do. Listen, NXT card does look good, though. Like, all kidding aside. But listen, I think for me the two matches I would pull out of that are the Aleister Black Sullivan match. Listen, Baszler and Nikki Cross really intrigues me, man. Like I think that could be a fun match to watch. But Gargano Ciampa is, I think that's going to be a match that when the weekend's over, that'll be the match that we talk about from NXT, and then there'll be a different match from Raw, or from Money in the Bank rather.
I think there's going to be a screwy finish in that match that's going to piss people off for Gargano Ciampa. I think they're going to close it off in the Brooklyn takeover. I think Saturday will be a good show, but it's going to be one of those takeovers like, oh, we didn't get our conclusions. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, because they didn't get it their way.
Right.
Gotcha.
I think that happened. Gotcha. You know what? Let's get into Money in the Bank. Let's not waste any time. Let's get into Money in the Bank. 11 matches on the show. There's one match on the kickoff show. We got the Bludgeon Brothers taking on the Good Brothers. All Brothers. all the Good Brothers there in the city of Wynn. Anderson and Gallows against Harper and Rowan. Harper was like, "Hey, are you gonna bring your hot Asian wife to Chicago?" I saw that on Twitter the other day.
They did. Yeah, he did too.
Anderson replied, "It's like, no, but people in the building will sort of remember you guys as braised bitches." That's his reply.
You know how funny that is? It keeps playing into my theory that the Bludgeon Brothers' one weakness is booty. Listen, Naomi came out, shook her booty. It distracted them. Now they're asking.
We'll do that, even if you are menacing.
I can't blame him.
I mean, look at Braun Strowman, the way he was looking at Alexa Bliss on the ladder the other night.
Can't blame him.
Yeah.
Listen, my wife would look at Alexa Bliss like that if she was standing on the ladder, okay? That's been well documented and admitted in this house. So.
I mean, anybody would. I wouldn't blame them.
Nope.
So, Bludgeon Brothers, Good Brothers, I'm going to go with the Good Brothers, actually. I think they're going to surprise the people. So, I'll go with the Good Brothers just to capitalize on some of the Bullet Club buzz that goes on from New Japan. I think they'll win the match on the kickoff show.
Nice. That actually would be nice because I still think I'm going with the Bludgeon Brothers, but really they haven't really done much with the Bludgeon Brothers since Mania. It's almost like there was some steam, then for whatever reason they just let off the steam. And I'm not putting that on either talent, obviously. It just seems like WWE took the pedal off.
If this match was on the main show, I would have said Sanity would make their debut.
I see that, and I keep forgetting that they're supposed to debut, but where are they? But this would make sense for them. You don't think still with a Chicago crowd you could debut them on the pre-show?
You could.
And then that really starts to sell the pre-show a little more too?
I wouldn't have an issue with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Let's start with this. Here's the thing with the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. It's always like, the Money in the Bank match always starts off the pay-per-view or whatever. I don't think it has to be the case. There's some matches that they're on the show that could start off the show, like Seth Rollins and Elias. I'm looking forward to this match a lot. Mm-hmm. I'm very interested to see what Elias says in his little guitar recital before the match starts. Yeah. You know what? Another title change here. I actually got Elias.
I do too.
With how Rollins broke the guitar on Sunday, I think Elias is going to retain. Yep.
I do too. I think this is something where Elias gets the rub here, and I don't know if maybe they extended out an extra month. Either way, Mm-hmm. I think this would be a good match to start to show off if they don't start with a Money in the Bank match, just because this is one I think could really get the crowd into it. My fear is that the crowd's going to blow, like we're going to blow ourselves up too early, and not pace ourselves properly for a 4-hour show. And like I keep telling like my dad and my daughter, like it's funny. My wife and I keep joking. It's like we're taking our 2 children with us. But I keep telling them like, listen, you understand you're in for like an intense crowd at this place. It's not like your typical wrestling crowd. But I think I don't know, man. I do think Elias will probably cut a promo that's going to be very heel worthy and very respect worthy. So. I'm looking forward to that. But, yeah, man, I think this is a match that could – I don't want to say it's going to steal the show, but this could really get the crowd engaged early. So I wouldn't mind them starting with this over a ladder match, if they wanted to. Even though because they could start with this and finish with the World Heavyweight Championship, so you're bookending with title matches instead of bookending with ladder matches. Yeah.
Like I was going to say, when it comes to pacing, I have certain matches of how that can help out, because you're gonna have matches in the show that could be 7 or 8 minutes long. They're not gonna drag. They're just in between matches. So next one we got here, Bobby Lashley and Sami Zayn. I got
quick matches.
Yeah, I got Bobby Lashley this one. By the way, I haven't. No, that's not true. I saw Bobby perform at WrestleMania 22. I did not see him when TNA came here, but this is the first time I've seen Bobby Lashley in a wrestling match. So that's another thing here. Maybe this could go out to Extreme Rules. I'm not sure, but I'll go with Lashley here.
Yeah, no, I think Lashley definitely wins this one. This is, Sami Zayn getting his comeuppance here. And it's going to be ugly. It's going to be, but this is the old, this is like, El Generico. Just getting, getting used to being tossed around Ring of Honor by Kevin Steen. You know what I mean? He knows how to sell. He's an excellent seller. And how great has Sami Zayn been in this character?
Yes. Everybody's saying, "Oh, this dude's so horrible." No, he's intentionally pissing you off.
He's such a great antagonist. He is. I'm really digging his character right now, and that's the thing. Sami Zayn right now is just there to irritate people and put people over. So this will last 4.5 minutes maybe.
5. Be generous.
Yeah, right.
Carmella and Asuka, number 3. I got Carmella retaining. I don't think she's losing the title.
I think she walks out of this match.
Yeah, alive.
No, I do. I think she walks out. I think she leaves the match and just takes the 10 count.
Self-counted out?
What's that? Yeah, I think she gets herself counted out. And then that's how they'll go into Extreme Rules and they'll have a no count-out match.
This leads us to the second hour of the show. We'll go into the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Ember, Alexa, Sasha, trying to remember the fourth one from Raw. Natalya. We have Lana, Becky, Charlotte, and Naomi. I have Becky Lynch winning the Money in the Bank ladder match this year for the women. It could go many different ways. I know Charlotte is the high favorite in the match. I wouldn't be mad if Alexa Bliss won too, but I'm going to go with Becky Lynch.
I think Charlotte wins the Rumble, so we're not going to worry about her winning this match. I do. I think Charlotte wins the Rumble. I think that the only way Becky Lynch, and this is just personal opinion, if they plan on turning Becky Lynch heel and changing her character around, she absolutely wins this. Because then that could slowly, get her character or get her character more on the devious side than on the fun side all the time. I'm looking at it as I actually think Ember Moon might win, man. I'm going to go with Ember Moon, but I'm going to go with Sasha as a strong second pick. And I'm trying to think here. There's this part I can't see Natalya winning. I mean, there's the 5% of me that thinks Natalya might get it just because they want to set up another storyline. But I think that part of me thinks that Sasha gets screwed over by Bayley in this match too. Or does Sasha get screwed over when she tries to cash in by Bayley? You know what I mean? I don't know how this. Eventually, something has to come to fruition with Bayley and Sasha, and it's going to play out in with the Money in the Bank briefcase somehow. So whether it's this match or Sasha wins and whatever, I'd be okay with Sasha winning. I don't know, man. There's a lot of people in this match I'd be okay with winning. Actually, I'm fine with everyone in this match winning this. That's what I mean. They did a good job with this one. I could see them going, who's the dark horse that you think that everybody's saying, oh, it's going to happen, and there's not a chance in hell she wins?
Lana.
Lana? Me too.
I think Lana, because she's had a lot of big moments in that arena.
Yes.
Chicago's been a big time for her and Rusev especially. That would be my third pick if I had choose out of the scenario. I'll have Lana in that scenario.
I actually can see Lana winning too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it'll ever happen, but it would be cool if she did.
Right. Next one we have. This one will be short. Match number 5. The leaders of worlds, yes, against the B team. I got Bray and Matt winning. This is the one. Yep.
Yeah.
Match number 6, Roman Reigns against Jinder. Everybody can be happy. Roman's not main eventing the show. Get your pissy pants. I think this is going to end in double disqualification. Actually, I do not think there's going to be a winner in this match. I think this will lead to a gimmick stipulation match at Extreme Rules. So I don't have a win here, but this match won't be long either.
I'm going with Jinder just because I think that everyone in Chicago thinks that even though we hate Roman Reigns, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Roman should probably win this match. So if Jinder wins, they'll be like, what? And then you go...
It's also the same city that was cheering for him in the Big Show Last Man Standing match. So that's
right. But then we go to Pittsburgh next month for the Extreme Rules, and if they wanted to carry this over into next month, then I would have Roman go over in Pittsburgh because the Pittsburgh crowd hates Roman. Like I'm on this, like they're booking Roman around the crowds just to keep using Roman to piss off crowds because it's working, and it's easy. It's an easy way to get people to go on Twitter and complain and whatever. It's free advertisement, man. So that's how I'm going with whatever city they're in. So I go Jinder Mahal wins this match. And then when the internet complains about it, that Roman should have won, it's going to be like, well, I thought you never... You hate him. He gets pushed too much. He wins too much. What do you mean he should have won?
LOL, Roman won. Well, not really. Brother takes a lot of L's.
Yes, actually, no. Probably, listen, he's cashing checks. My man's winning. Trust me, my man's winning.
Yeah. By the way, props to him, man. He just had twins, I think, a few months ago, too. Good for him, man. Yeah, twin boys. Daniel Bryan and Big Cass. I'm going to go with Daniel Bryan in this one. I think this is another thing where I want to give props for Cass because he's really trying hard. And I think he's doing a pretty solid job with his promos and stuff. I think people are just kind of butthurt because Daniel Bryan's not in the title picture, so they're taking that out on Cass without actually looking at him as a performer and how he's actually telling his stories. Yeah, it's easy to say, oh, yeah, he's just 7 foot tall and this and that, but there's a lot of reality in that. You know, a guy like him had an injury too, and he got cleared the same day as Daniel Bryan, but everybody was talking about Daniel Bryan and just treating him like an afterthought. So I have slight sympathy for Big Cass. I do like him as a person. I've seen a couple of interviews. He's a pretty nice guy. But for me, this is not the match that I'm looking forward to the most. I mean, I do want to say this though. It's kind of interesting with how much content there is. We tend to lose sight on things that we should be grateful for. I never thought in January that I was going to see Daniel Bryan at this pay-per-view. I didn't think that was going to happen.
Right.
And it's cool. I'm not the biggest Daniel Bryan fan in the world. I'm not. But it's going to be cool to see him, and it'll be a cool thing for AJ to see all those yes chants.
Oh, yeah. Dude, she's going to love that. And I'll admit, dude, I'm actually in a weird spot where I like both of these men individually. Like, I think they're both great individuals. I'm glad that Daniel Bryan's back, and I'm glad that Cass is being able to have. I think Cass has been great, by the way. We're supposed to not like him. I know that. Listen, I know my only complaint. And this is just me nitpicking because I like the nitpick. I like the nitpick math because you can't dispute math. That's one thing that you can teach. Somebody should have taught Big Cass there the other night that whenever he had that sign, and I get it was just to show that he was 7 foot tall, but if he really would have looked at the thing and knew how to do math or read numbers, Daniel Bryan would have been tall enough to ride that ride, and that's something that you can teach that, Cass, because you could have just looked down and read numbers and saw, oh, Daniel Bryan's this tall, not 4 foot 2 inches. Oh. And I get it. It was for the whatever, but it's just stuff like that I can't let fly. It's like the Earth being flat. Like, at least make the prop look. You know what I mean? Make the prop look like you got to be a certain. Like, make it a little taller to make it seem like you got to be a bigger dude to ride it or something.
I swear to God, if I see a freaking flat Earth sign at this paper,
I should make a Flat Earth Society sign for the 212 section. For the 211 section. I should. I won't, but I should. No, but you know what? But individually, I like both of these guys, and listen, I love Daniel Bryan, and I do love Cass too, and I'm glad that they both battled back from very different injuries, but both career-threatening injuries.
Yes,
I'm just so indifferent on this match, like on both parties, and it's not because of Big Cass, it's not because of Daniel Bryan. I'm very indifferent on both characters right now, and I think they're both doing a good job. I think I don't know. I think I just moved on from Daniel Bryan, dude. You know what I mean? I think he was just, in my mind, he was retired and he was just gone. So I'm still getting used to him being back, I guess. But I don't know. And I know there's a long story that's going to play, which I think we might talk about in the coming months, because I think I know where they're going with Daniel Bryan. But it's just right now, I don't know. Out of everything else that's going on, I'm not there. And this is the match that I'm probably least interested in.
Ronda Rousey and Nia Jax, Rollins title. I have Nia Jax retaining, actually. I have her retaining. I think she's going to join the Authority. I think this whole thing's leading up to Ronda and Stephanie at SummerSlam.
I don't know. See, I thought that too. I thought that would make the most sense. And I don't know if you want to put the title on her, and I don't want to hear that is it too soon or that this or that other thing. It's
no, that's no argument.
Yeah, none of that matters, and that's not for any of us to talk about. But here's what I'm thinking, and I know this is where I started looking at things a lot differently. I'm looking at the business side. She's getting inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame next month. Yeah. Wouldn't you want her to be able to say she's WWE Raw Women's Champion as she's being inducted? I know it sounds trivial. I know it sounds petty. But what you're basically saying is that we're putting – the UFC is putting one of WWE's champions in its Hall of Fame. Even though we all know that Ronda Rousey is UFC.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's going to take a long time for Ronda to be considered WWE before she's considered UFC. But that what WWE could say as a corporate conglomerate is that a WWE champion is being inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame.
Right.
And I know that's just a Vince way of thinking about it, but I think sometimes we have. I know, and I know that's. Otherwise, I was thinking, okay, how do they do this? Does Natalya come down and cost Rousey the match? So Rousey still wins, by disqualification. But, because I think that they want Rousey to still have a streak. I'm very interested in this match because Occam's razor, like I always talk about, tells me Ronda Rousey wins in 15 seconds. That's because that makes the most common sense. That's common sense. That's what would we expect in any other time? Let's pretend this wasn't her first fight. In any other match, we're instantly going to think, yeah, she's winning. It's especially over, and not to take anything against Nia, but especially over Nia Jax. This isn't Charlotte Flair. This isn't you know what I mean. This isn't Asuka. This isn't I'm not knocking Nia down because I love Nia Jax, but Charlotte Flair is a household name. Nia Jax isn't. And granted, because of the dad, I get it, but I don't know, man. I think that at the same time, I don't know. This is where I'm torn because I don't. But I still think she wins the match regardless, whether she gets the title or not. That's to be determined. But
right.
Like I was telling you, Josh, the new commercial they're showing here in Pittsburgh for Extreme Rules just says, when they're hyping up the pay-per-view to buy tickets. Yeah. And it's so vague. That's what I mean. They're being so vague and coy about it. And come see Ronda Rousey in a match you won't want to miss or something. It's like, or something like that. It's like a can't miss match. Or they didn't say it was a title match and they didn't say who she was fighting and it was just her on the screen. So I don't know. I think they're being vague intentionally. Could you potentially see a situation where maybe she joins the Authority?
Ronda?
Yeah.
Not unless it's going into WrestleMania.
Okay. Because I'm just saying.
But me, I'm not narrow-minded where it's like, oh, it has to be this decision, and oh, that's the direction they have to be. Like, I'm open to her winning the title and having that thing where she shows up at the Hall of Fame with the title and this and that. There's a lot of options.
I think maybe Steph cost her the match.
Would I be surprised by her joining the Authority? No. Would I be surprised by Stephanie costing her the match like I mentioned earlier? No.
Right.
there's a lot of options. That's the cool thing with this pay-per-view.
Absolutely.
There's not a lot of predictability, and where you've been enjoying the product recently from television over the last 5 weeks, that's the here and there. But, it's one thing where it's like, oh, this pay-per-view is so predictable. And then another thing, people's like, oh, they're not telling enough good stories. Why is this happening? Why is that happening? That's the point of the watch.
Yeah.
So you had those answers at the pay-per-view.
Never-ending story, man. People forget that. It's the never-ending story.
Boggled down by weekly television doesn't even matter that much anymore.
Right.
But that's just my last two matches. Men's Money in the Bank ladder match. I know who you're going with, but I wanted just so for good radio, I'll go in a different direction here. I have two guys I can see win this match. Kevin Owens, for me, I can see win this match, and also Big E. That would be my second option. So one guy from Raw, one guy from SmackDown. It'd be, for me, either be Kevin Owens or Big E. I was joking around with this with Jeremy, who I'm going with the show with on Sunday. He's like, "There's no way in hell Braun Strowman's winning the match." I was like, "Nope, that brother going through 8 ladders."
Yeah, because he doesn't need it. But listen, Braun Strowman with a briefcase would be a frightening concept.
It's just interesting to see him in the arena.
Oh yeah, yeah. Men's Money in the Bank. My lead horse right now is The Miz. Listen, but there's part of me still that I actually wouldn't mind seeing Corbin somehow enter himself in this matchup in the briefcase. I know that sounds crazy, but I know, just being a dick. I know, but it seems like they're going to keep him on Raw. So I mean, let's keep him in the Constable Corbin, and like because I feel like there's something brewing right now with the Authority again, and I like how we're being kind of like being fed breadcrumbs, so to speak. So.
Yes.
The reason why I'm leaning on Miz a little bit, I'll admit, I feel like this is the weekend where they're trying to totally wipe away Punk from like all records, like whatsoever. Miz wins a second Money in the Bank, then cashes in successfully. CM Punk's not the only dude to do that anymore. So that way they don't have, they can acknowledge the Miz as being the guy that's done it twice. Other than Miz, I mean, I actually could see Finn Balor, believe it or not, win. Although I think he's in there more of the, like Jericho would always be in there for the higher spots to help sell other people, to give that extra marquee name. Because Balor has kind of taken the Jericho position almost in a way. You know what I mean? Where he's really helping other people. He's putting on 5-star matches while helping other people. Oh, I'm sorry. I hate to star a match, but you know what I mean? Great matches. And, no, damn you, internet. But but I don't know. I really felt going into this year's Money in the Bank that no matter who won, they were going to be a second-time winner. So I instantly thought Corbin, but then he wasn't in it. I instantly thought Daniel Bryan, he wasn't in it. I was going through. I really do think that out of anyone, it's maybe Miz or Samoa Joe. I could see Samoa Joe, because Samoa Joe is another one that would be right now. If you mix him up with, I find it, and this is where I'm just going to give. I think that whoever wins the men's Money in the Bank, they're cashing in at Money in the Bank. You have two men in a last man standing match. I know this maybe will segue over into this. How do we not know that if both men don't answer the count of 10, it's another draw and the feud extends unless somebody comes down and can cash in, because after a last man standing match, isn't that the perfect time to cash in? Like Cena when he got cashed in on after an Elimination Chamber match. I think there would be something, whether it be Miz, whether it be Joe, because I think Joe would fit into that storyline very well. I think Miz would fit into that storyline very well, and then we can finally start the Daniel Bryan chasing Miz all the way till WrestleMania for the title. I'm sure Miz would drop it and regain it or whatever, in the meantime, but I just feel like one title isn't making it out that night. Even whether it's Ronda wins and then gets cashed in on, I just don't see that one happening. So that's why with the men's match, the way the men's match is set up, I actually think we're gonna have a double 10 fall, a double 10 count. Because to me, it almost seems more that Nakamura just wants to get the title off of AJ Styles. He doesn't care about the title in a way. He just wants to embarrass AJ Styles. I don't know. But that's where I'm at. Segue into the main event.
Yes. Last man standing, man. AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura. It's a little factoid. AJ Styles has yet to win a match in Chicago.
Are you serious?
He lost the tag title match where Jericho turned on him. I remember that before they had their feud at WrestleMania 32. Lost to Roman, Payback, remember that. And he lost to Kevin Owens in a screwy finish at Backlash last year as well.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. So, all right.
Little foreshadowing there, huh?
I actually do have Nakamura winning.
I could see it. No, I could see it.
I do. I think I do think this feud will actually at SummerSlam, but Nakamura is going to do something really dastardly to like tick AJ off, and that's going to lead to whatever finish they have in that match.
And brilliantly, like we were talking before we started taping, to anybody listening at home, that advertisements they're showing here in Pittsburgh for Extreme Rules. Like I said, it was the most vague advertisement for a pay-per-view that like where it's like buy your tickets now from Ticketmaster, your local box office. You know, it was like and AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the WWE Championship, and it didn't say who was champion. You know, like before it was like it was WWE Champion AJ Styles was going to take, or no, it just said AJ Styles versus. No, I think it did say WWE Champion AJ Styles versus Nakamura versus Baron Corbin in a triple threat match. And then now the new commercials are just saying just AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura, and then saying, so they're leaving it very vague for like the smartish fans like us that sit at home and pick apart these commercials too. So I wouldn't be surprised. This is another match that Josh, I think that can go in so many different ways that could be pleasing. Like if Styles retains, I think there's still so many good possibilities and ways that they could go with that where it could be entertaining. If Nakamura wins, it extends this feud, which I agree. I think this is probably the more plausible. I think Nakamura winning is probably the most likely to happen. But there's always the option of somebody cashing in that same night. And so I don't know. So there's so many directions you could go with this ride. Like, okay, this is not to be very punny here, but this is money. This match is money.
Big bags of money.
Yep.
Yes. So, that's our predictions for Money in the Bank. So, do we have our audience today?
Hold on one second. We're getting a little special guest here. Josh, I'll let you do the introductions. And then hold on one second.
Hola. Now we have my niece. I'm glad it got the fan off so everybody can hear. We got Miss AJ here to get her predictions for the pay-per-view coming up on Sunday. I'm going to make these really quick, AJ. You can just pick wherever you want. You don't have to explain why. We have no time for that. We can just rush through these. But let's go through this really quick. We got Nakamura against AJ Styles. Who you got?
Nakamura.
Nice. Nakamura. We got Big Cass against Daniel Bryan.
Daniel Bryan.
Nice. Roman Reigns against Jinder Mahal.
That's a hard one.
I said no double disqualification. No one wins. We'll hold on to that later on. Let's see. Carmella and Asuka. I know you're a big Asuka fan. Asuka. Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. We got Ember Moon, Alexa Bliss, Sasha Banks, Natalya. We have Lana, Charlotte, Becky, and Naomi.
I'll go Lana.
Oh, nice. That was one of my wild card picks in the match. Men's one, we got Kevin Owens, Braun Strowman, Bobby Roode, Finn Balor. One of the members from New Day. I don't know who it is yet. We got... Who else is from the SmackDown match? Wait for it. Oh, Rusev, Samoa Joe, and The Miz.
Braun Strowman.
Ronda Rousey against Nia Jax.
Ronda Rousey.
Let's see. Did I miss anybody else? Bobby Lashley and Sami Zayn.
Sami Zayn.
Sami Zayn. Then lastly.
Really?
Lastly, we got Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy against the B Team.
Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy.
Nice. I call the B Team the D Team, but that's neither here nor there. All right, that's pretty much it. We got through those really quick. Thanks, AJ, for the picks here. So we got Money to Make coming up this Sunday, live on the pay-per-view, and we'll be here at the Allstate Arena. I'll be in section 102. Punkster and the family, or the Riot Squad in this case. The Riot Squad from the Berg is coming to the Allstate Arena. They'll be in section 211.
Daley squad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All the
that's
villains.
a frightening thought.
Yeah. The villains from the Berg are coming to the Windy City. It's going to be a fun weekend. I want to thank you guys so much for checking out episode 110 of the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. We'll check the show later on today. Hope you guys enjoy the show. Enjoy TakeOver. Enjoy Money in the Bank. You can check out the podcast anytime you want on YouTube or Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts from. Bookmark Pro Wrestling Transcriptions.com. And that's pretty much it. I mean, if you have any final comments, ladies and gentlemen, just drop it in the review section on iTunes, and we'll love to hear from you guys. Punkster, Mr. Clown Prince, thanks for coming on the show again.
Brother, I appreciate you. Thank you. Listen, anybody out there, again, I don't know what color I'm supposed to wear so that like I stand out. You know what I mean? I don't know, because everything, like 90% of my clothes are black, so it's like, and that doesn't show up on camera, so I'm really like trying to struggle to find something to like wear to this thing. But look for us up in like the 200 section will be camera side. But yeah, hit us up on social media, all that kind of stuff. Send us questions, and like I always tell people, listen, if you guys think I've overstayed my welcome, let Josh know. I don't want to ruin his show. And I don't know what my daughter's talking about with that Sami Zayn pick, but watch her be right, and we're all gonna like, that would be ridiculous. Yeah. But Josh, I appreciate you. Love you, brother, and everyone out there. Hope you enjoy Money in the Bank weekend.
Yes, sir. Thanks to our special guest this week, the lovely AJ, who's be at the show as well. It was a fun show, so thank you guys so much. We'll be back to recap the show and our adventures in the city of Gwyn next week on the podcast. And talk to you next week, motherfuckers. Peace.